Good afternoon and welcome to S24 Insight. Good afternoon and welcome to S24 Insight. Today we are not starting with the exchange rate. We're starting with the farm, because when a farmer cannot safely plant, inflation begins before food reaches the market. We're not starting with the national budget as well. We are starting with the pipeline, because when crude oil is stolen or production is disrupted, government revenue bleeds before the money reaches classrooms, hospitals, roads, or security operations. We're not starting with interest rates. We're starting with confidence, because when investors see violence, policy uncertainty, currency pressure, and weak inflations, capital becomes cautious and sometimes capital leaves. So today's conversation is built around one difficult thing to swallow. Insecurity in Nigeria is no longer only a security crisis, it is an economic emergency. The article we are discussing today estimates that insecurity costs Nigeria about 6.5 trillion naira to 7 trillion naira annually, roughly 3.5% or 4% of the GDP, through security expenditure, agricultural losses, crude oil theft, infrastructure damage, and a lot of other things, especially foregone investment. It also notes that insecurity-related disruptions may have reduced agricultural output by 15 to 20% in affected states, worsening food insecurity and adding pressure to inflation. And this is happening at a delicate time, especially a national moment that everything seems falling apart. Nigeria's inflation rose again in March 2026 to 15.38%, its first increase in about a year, with food inflation also rising as fuel and food costs came under renewed pressure. By April 2026, inflation had climbed further to 15.69%, partly reflecting pass-through from fuel and food prices pressure. At the same time, Nigeria's debt service burden remains very big. Reuters reported that Nigeria is projected to spend about $11.6 billion, nearly half of government revenue, on debt payment in 2026 alone, yet there are signs of macroeconomic improvement. S&P recently upgraded Nigeria's long-term sovereign credits rating from B to B, citing a bigger production of oil, exchange rates liberalization, stronger growth, and an improved balance of payment profile. So Nigeria is standing between two realities. One reality says reforms are beginning to restore confidence. The other reality says insecurity, debt pressure, food prices, and institutional weakness could still undermine recovery. Today we ask, can Nigeria stabilize the economy while large parts of production, farming, investment, and other things remain exposed to insecurity? Joining us today is Suleiman Yusuf, the Chief Executive Officer of Bold Age Consult and the author of National Security, Macroeconomic Stability, and the Future of Nigeria's Development, Policy Priorities in a Volatile Global Environment. Thank you for joining us on S24 Insight.
Thank you, Halima. Thank you for having me.
Yes, this is a big thing for us because Nigeria is bleeding. So whatever you say about the national life is always linked to security economy. And some people would say you can't remove insecurity from the economy. Poverty led people to joining gangs or terrorist groups, etc. If we are to look at this in a bigger picture, what is supposed to be done now? Because we've been talking about problems all the time. What can we do now? Maybe regionally, maybe nationally, maybe state by state, because if we look at what's what we see abroad, usually states are independent to take things the way that it will benefit their people. Maybe UK, for instance, Leicester would be implementing different maybe security policy, and maybe London will be doing different things, maybe Birmingham will be doing different things. So if you look at it in that picture, what can we do differently to change the narrative, especially northern Nigeria?
Yes, thank you very much once again. Let me start by saying that globally, and of course in Nigeria, there is no single pathway to radicalization or terrorism. There are many pathways, and that is why a government has to be efficient and effective in tackling those pathways. So there was a particular UN Security Council's resolution. I can't recall the code exactly, but it says that member states should begin to address conditions conducive for the spread of terrorism, and in broader terms, insecurity in general. And what are these conditions conducive for the spread of insecurity and terrorism? These are unemployment, poverty, weak governance, unresolved conflicts, ungoverned spaces, and so many other things. And when you look at Nigeria as a whole, you realize that these factors are very visible.
They are.
They are a threat to our economic development. They are a threat to whatever you think a nation has to utilize to grow. So what we are saying is that tackling insecurity is like the saying in Hausa, when the sky is falling, it has never been a one-man's business. It is a general problem.
And a collective effort.
And collective effort, regardless of your race, regardless of religion, regardless of, these tribal sentiments and many other things that we incline to. It doesn't care.
I think I've even got a problem with this tribe thing, because recently I spoke to a security person and he said that when you say tribe, it's very derogatory. It's just Nigerians that decided to say we are this tribes, that tribe. Instead, why not say ethnic group instead of
group.
Tribes,
So I'm trying to say that regardless of this, our primordial, sentiments, insecurity is like the sky falling. Everyone has to sit up. It is not a function of a government alone. Individuals must be responsible for
the security of the environment.
So every person has a role to play. But of course, the government is at the center. The government has to show commitment. The government has to show sense of belonging. The government has to show direction for individuals to effectively participate in security, architecture. And let me give you an example. For somebody who, they say when you see something, say something. You see something, you say something, and the next minute you are dead. Then nobody will be encouraged to say anything.
So in what way can we say something without putting our lives at risk? Of
course, it is when the government begin to be more responsible in securing the lives of individuals and properties. In 2013 or so, while I was with the office of the NSC, I went for a counter-terrorism training in the post-9/11 world in Netherlands. And I saw what they call witness protection. The level of attention given to witnesses, the level of protection will naturally give you the impetus to want to, witness against whosoever that is causing harm to national development. But to be very honest and to be very frank, we love our country. I hate it when I say certain things that are negative, that are negation to my country. But I think a spade has to be called a spade.
Yes.
We don't protect ordinary citizens, not to talk of witnesses.
Unfortunately, it's a sad situation. Would you attribute that to our population explosion?
Are we more populated than China or India?
No, I think we need to be more intentional. So let's go to your article. I think that gives us a bit of overview of what we should do as well. Your article cites insecurity-related agricultural output losses of 15 to 20% in affected states. In what ways do you think this directly costs us as a people in terms of food inflation?
Of course, people cannot, as simple as people cannot go to farm because we are losing spaces by the day. We are losing our productive spaces to the bad guys. I don't like calling them some names, but I prefer using the word bad guys. We are losing our spaces to them. There were times that we had some, relevant, all local governments are relevant, but some productive and very relevant local governments that farm in large scale. We have had times that these bandits have occupied and mounted their flags. for any serious country or any serious government. This is a serious source of concern. A lot of government will shut down ministries, will shut down all its activities and face this to deal with it squarely. But we still talk politics, we still go to stages and dance, we still blow grammar here and there. It's not about grammar, it is about action. It is about changing the narrative. It is about being deliberate. It is about, loving the country and making sure that we secure it at whatever cost.
So it will be linked to political will or not?
Of
there
course.
Is no political will to tackle this.
I say it boldly, there is no political will.
You've mentioned ungoverned spaces, yes. And that's a big thing. I recall that I think from 2019 to date, there is someone I used to listen to on radio that always say, let's implement special forces, because if you see ungoverned space, the soldiers go to fight these terrorists, they retreat to their base, and then these people regroup and go back to the same spot. Do you think one of the solutions that would end insecurity in Nigeria is maybe special forces?
I don't think we need, look, let's not even go to the army. Okay. I'm assuring you, if we can empower our police, if we can empower, I think a lot of people will laugh at this, but I'll see it. If we can empower a divisional police outfit, they will deal with this matter.
But people would tell you that even the recruitment of people into the police force is fraught of irregularities, especially because people just think police is maybe the uniform. There is a thing with the uniform, dark people, something like that. So the recruitment phase is usually fraught with irregularities, and people would not totally believe that the police can solve their problem.
If you like, you bring the darkest of uniforms in this whole world. If you refuse to empower the people behind the gun, if you refuse to empower the people that are saddled with responsibility of dealing with these issues, nothing will happen. The police, you empower them, you checkmate them. When you go to sane countries, a policeman will be given a gun and there's a camera attached to the gun. What that does is that he cannot misbehave. You give him firearm, there are laws guiding the usage of such firearm, and he's also being monitored. When donors come to Nigeria and they give you funding, they have to see your monitoring evaluation framework. It's not just about the funding, it's the monitoring evaluation framework that ensures that the resources they have given you is going to where it is targeted.
Supposed to be.
But we give guns, they get drunk, and they do all sorts of things, and nobody checkmate them.
You give guns.
How many times have you been to checkpoints and you observe and you smell that alcohol? The person with the gun is highly drunk?
Unfortunately.
How many times? So if we don't deal with that, if we don't take governance to the grassroots, if we don't take it to the doorstep of every citizen of this country, we are just missing it out. So much concentration in Abuja, the state government. The local governments are not functional.
They're not.
Not to talk about ward council. We are not ready.
Are you seeing light at the end of the tunnel for us?
There is always light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes the light comes under duress. Sometimes it's when somebody is, under rest. So when we keep keeping, when citizens get tired of what is happening, the solution is either it comes from the government or the citizens bring out a solution. It's like when you leave certain information out of the public, when you create that vacuum, what happens is that some information, whether wrongly or rightly, will fill that vacuum. When government refuses to speak on something that it is supposed to speak on, right? What happens is that the citizen will fill it with rumor mongering, with lies, and so many others. Exactly. So a government has to be responsible. If a government has to communicate to people every day, you have to do it. It is not about you being protected in the villa or in the government houses. It is not about that. It is about being responsible. You are a servant of the people, and there is nothing that will change that. Whether you want to have, guards from here to Kaduna or to anywhere else, what you are a bloody servant of the public. And until we begin to look at, our leadership and tell them the truth, there's nothing that will change in this country.
You've mentioned something, Jamin, protection of witness, and I don't think anyone wants to put their life in danger, because I think the political class is very empowered than the ordinary citizen. So let's look at part of one of your articles. Your article note that crude oil production declined from about 2.1 million barrels per day in 2015 to 1.3 barrels per day in 2023 to 2024. I think there is an increase now, I think, in the output. With theft and sabotage contributing to major losses, what did that do to government revenue and foreign exchange supply? But now I want you to x-ray it in the sense that the federal government is saying there is more, because of subsidy removal, there is more, I think, revenue for the government, but we're still borrowing to service debt and to also maybe fund capital expenditure. What do you think this theft is doing to the whole of our national life in a short answer?
So I'm a governance and management expert and a security, I don't want the word expert, but for a lack of a better word, I'm enthusiast.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not an economist, even though my research delved into economics and how, there is a relationship between insecurity and the inflation and many other issues, right? But then you don't need an economist to tell you whether something is going rightly in a country or wrongly. You don't need any economist. You feel it. What is happening on the ordinary citizen on the streets? Is he happy? I don't need any expert to come on television, or the president or the governors to come on television to tell me we are doing well. It is laughable. If you are doing well, the people will feel it. The people will be happy. A situation whereby anywhere you drive, people are angry. With the slightest of the opportunity or an opportunity, there will be exchange.
Yes.
I think that is very bad for a country. So nobody needs to tell you when things are going right, whether the borrowing, whether the removal of subsidy is doing well, what happens to that Malam Baro on the street, what happens to Naomi who sells akara down there. You don't need an expert from Harvard to tell you that. When you bring experts, from Harvard, all they know is, global best practice. But perhaps they don't really know what is going on the street.
It's PowerPoint, not just global best practices.
Exactly.
It's PowerPoint presentation, and that doesn't, that's not the reality on the street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the reality is what determines the actual, happening, not what anybody said or a governor with, a powerful PowerPoint to say we have done this, we have changed it. If I am told that all the global leaders that have relocated to Nigeria are being killed, I will still ask the question, our security situation improving? If it is not, I think it doesn't make any sense to anybody, to any Nigerian. So for me, while I congratulate any efforts that is targeted towards reducing the hardship, especially the insecurity we are faced with as a country, I would also appreciate any efforts, that, or any claim. Let's really see it on ground. Let's really see it translated on ground. I'm a practical person.
Yeah.
I don't believe in grammar, and I don't believe in drama. If I believe in drama, I will join Kannywood or Hollywood. But I believe in practical reality, and that's...
So if Nigeria knows the diagnosis, what is the treatment plan? You've mentioned a few. I'm not talking about another slogan, because we're used to slogan. Someone said that the APC's mantra is positive change. Are we seeing the positive change? That's left to Nigerians to answer, not myself. So what are those practical treatment plans that you think we can really implement on a short term, medium term, and long term?
So like I said, I'll still say that we have to be holistic in our approach. We just have to be holistic. When an issue is not about an individual, whether economic, whether security, when it is about the entire population, it means that all hands must be on deck. Every person has to play a role. Even individuals that would sit and analyze security, that analyze economy, they have a role to play, no matter how minute you feel that role is. Like I would always say, whenever I have the opportunity to talk, sitting down to complain, or when there is a situation, pulling the blankets over our head will not solve the problem. We have to act, and we have to understand the point at which we are acting upon. We have to understand our strength and the role that we are expected to play.
Right.
Play your role. If the next person refuses to play his role or her role, you have done yours, and you have an argument to make, whether now or in the future.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be deliberate in our efforts, and we have to be sincere. We have to first and foremost love the country. It's only when you love the country that you make an impact. If you don't love this country, what that means is that you'll be the Minister of Health. By the time your child coughs as a result of one illness or the other,
you take them
you
abroad.
pull that money out of the basket that created it, you take it to another basket. You are not a patriotic Nigerian if you will make money from the health sector and you remove that money to treat yourself in another economy. It means this economy will never grow. You cannot be a Minister of Education. You cannot be feeding from the education sector, only to pull that money out of the sector and out of Nigeria to somewhere else to feed another economy, until we begin to service our economy ourselves. When the Ahmadu Bellos built schools like ABU and Kaduna Polytechnic, what they did was they brought people, experts from different countries. They brought them to Nigeria. Instead of giving scholarship, removing huge amount of money from our economy to another country, what they did, they brought the teachers, the experts to Nigeria. The teachers, the experts to Nigeria. They built houses for them, they pay them, and no matter how they want to take the money back home, they must spend back home, they must spend here. Even the process of taking the money means that some money will remain here. So taking money out, they will have to feed. So taking money out, they will have to feed. They will have to school their children here. It means that a significant part of that money being paid to them is also servicing the economy that created the wealth. So until we begin to think that I think there is a problem. I have a problem, honestly. The people seeking to lead us don't even trust our institutions. They trust another institution. If you are the kind of person, let me look at the camera, if you are that kind of person, then it means you have no business in leading even the smallest part of this country.
Yeah, they should stick to leading. They should stick to leading their family.
They should allow those that are passionate.
They should stick to leading their family.
They should allow those that are passionate. They should allow those that want. They should allow those that want, Nigeria to improve, to develop. They should allow those that want Nigeria to compete with any country in the world to lead. That is it.
I think the political landscape in Nigeria probably would not give people that want to work for the country to work, because the processes. Getting I think expression of interest form is another amount of money, and I think politics is really expensive. Let's quickly go into this because of time. Okay. Give us one policy memo each for these three individuals. President, one for the president, one for governors, and one for our citizens. Policy memo that I think can change our security situation. Whether it's just one sentence. Patriotism. Okay.
I think it's only when you are patriotic, whether you are even educated or not, if you are patriotic, it will allow you to self-assess yourself, to know that, okay, I lack A, B, C knowledge, and I should bring somebody who would fill in those gaps. We don't expect a president to know it all.
Yeah.
But we expect somebody who is patriotic, who is sincere. Being patriotic means that even if it's your son that is not qualified, you will not put that person there. But when you are rewarding politically, you are rewarding even the seats that should be, reserved for experts, for people who attain certain level of, knowledge, skills, and you are bringing anybody because he helped you to dance on the stage when you are contesting. It means we are a drama country. It means that things will remain.
God forbid. If Nigeria starts doing the right things today, what would success look like in 24 months?
Everyone will be happy in the country.
Okay. Now let's listen up a bit. There is a segment called Rapid Fire, because I believe that this conversation should continue beyond this episode.
Okay.
Rapid Fire, simple answer, short yes or no, or just a simple sentence.
Okay.
Security or economy, which comes first?
Security.
Inflation or insecurity, which is very difficult to fix?
Insecurity.
Oil theft, crime or governance failure?
Governance failure.
Why?
Because entities made money because Africa was just one. They moved freely to Ghana, to Niger, and many other African countries. Now, the same colonial masters came and balkanized that, and they now saw it here, how good it worked here. They took it back and created the European Union. We used to use cowries in the entire of Africa. What happened? They destroyed that, brought another system, and they went back and started and came up with the concept of euro. They used one single currency. So it's a huge opportunity.
If properly implemented. Now again, because I think before the colonial era, it was seamless.
That's right.
Diaspora remittances or federal direct investment?
Diaspora remittances.
Remittances. Nigerians living in diaspora, their remittances or federal direct investment?
Federal direct investment.
Okay, and biggest risk to Nigeria's recovery from this insecurity situation? Biggest risk?
I think this is another area of research.
The current security situation?
I'll still go back to the issue of governance.
Okay, governance. And finally, one reform Nigeria must not postpone, the one it must start immediately to change the narrative.
Security reform.
Security reform. That's really big. Thank you so much, Mr. Suleiman Yusuf, for joining us on S24's Insight. Today's conversation reminds us that Nigeria's development crisis is not one isolated problem. It is a chain. When insecurity disrupts farms, food prices rises. When oil theft weakens revenue, foreign exchange supply suffers in the most difficult way.